tell you a little story about myself. My name is Stephen Bowser. I'm a 51-year-old wealthy owner. The opportunity to have a second career through Grid Alternatives and SolarWorks DC. Through their 12-week program, I was able to gain valuable knowledge and information in the solar industry and gain the necessary confidence to become a solar installer. From the first week to the 12th week, it was like night and day. I was scared to get up on the roof the first week, and by the 12th week, I was ready to install combiner boxes and AC/DC disconnects. So I just wanted to let you know about myself that solar is real in DC, and I'm an example, and I want to be an ambassador for solar within DC. So without any further ado, I would like to let you know that the home that we're in front of today is Miss Dawn Fong, and she started out as a client, and now she's a staffer for Grid Alternatives. So Grid is doing great things within the city and within the country. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce your mayor and mine, Mayor Bowser.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you, Ms. Fong, for inviting us to your lovely home. And I am just delighted that you are all able to join. Is Commissioner Zimmy here? Okay. Well, let's thank her in her absence, Commissioner Zimmy. And Nicole Steele, Executive Director of Grid Alternatives. Thank you, Nicole. It has been a very busy week of environmental events and announcements here in the district. We just had the 10th Annual District Sustainability Awards last Wednesday. Anna the Shad, the official mascot of our Department of Energy in the Environment, ran at Thursday's Nationals game, and we're here today celebrating our very successful SolarWorks DC program. We are joined, as you heard, by SolarWorks DC trainees and employees from Grid Alternatives. You know that my team and myself prioritize programs like this one, and we fund them. We can coordinate efforts between our community partners, and these men and women are the people who are out in the community installing solar panels, ensuring that DC residents know about our Solar for All program and are making the program a success. One of my chief concerns about how we deployed solar across the city was making sure that people of all incomes could take advantage of DC programs. And Solar for All has meant a tremendous amount to us in deploying more solar in all 8 wards of the city. Today, we are celebrating the fact that more than 100 homes in our community have been equipped with solar panels through the Solar for All program. And so we're happy about that. You will remember that back in 2016, when the president announced he was withdrawing the U.S. from the Paris Climate Accord, I signed a mayor's order binding Washington, D.C. to the goals of the agreement. And through programs like this one, we are making good on that commitment. In January, I signed the Clean Energy D.C. Omnibus Amendment Act of 2018. It is the strongest and most progressive climate law in the nation. The historic legislation, and I want to acknowledge Councilmember Mary Che, who authored the legislation, sets a mandate of 100% renewable electricity by the year 2032, and in doing so, cements DC's position as the national leader in clean energy and climate action. Today, we are also releasing our updated Sustainable DC plan, one that the community has been very involved in putting together. In fact, throughout the process of updating the plan, we heard from more than 3,000 residents about their priorities. And the end result you'll see today is a plan that better reflects our city's shared commitment to equity and inclusivity. We know as the nation's capital, Washington, D.C. has a special role to play in the way we lead on climate issues. Director Wells and I, shortly after the 2016 election, were in Mexico City for a global meeting of mayors. And there we realized just how special our position was. That in so many ways, people from around the world look to Washington, D.C. and says, Washington, D.C. should be the representative of all of America's values. And we stood up very proudly to say that we as a city are committed to lead. Mayors like me are committed to lead when the federal government does not. There is a newfound sense of hope that with a new and energized focus in the Congress with leaders like AOC making climate change a top priority, candidates in the Democratic Party making climate action a top priority as well. But tying the work that we do in our city to other cities and what we do as a nation is hugely important. We must also always keep in mind how we can close income gaps, promote economic and environmental justice in the work that we do. And part of our celebration today is because we're able to do that with Solar for All. But until our entire nation is moving in the same direction, we take our local responsibility to build a greener and more sustainable city and a future city even more seriously because we're acting on the local level almost alone. In fact, the Solar Works DC program, in this program, we have an example for the Congress. A concrete example of how it really is possible to create programs that expand green infrastructure and address income inequality. The Solar Works DC program does three things. Through it, we train DC residents for careers in the solar energy. We install solar panels on the homes of low and moderate income DC residents, which over time will allow those residents to save hundreds of dollars on their energy bills and stay in their homes, age in place in their homes. And third, with the goal of reaching 100,000 residents by 2032, Solar Works DC is going to play a big role in reaching our energy goals. This installation on Ms. Fong's home is an example of the backyard by backyard approach to building solar capacity that is needed to meet our bold, clean energy goals. No other jurisdiction our size anywhere in the nation, not New York, Hawaii, or Los Angeles, has made this type of commitment to both decarbonize our electricity and to do so in a way that supports and looks out for our most vulnerable residents. By investing in our solar infrastructure, we are investing in our residents, our community, and our collective future. I am proud to lead an administration that is focused on removing barriers to rooftop and community solar projects. And in doing so, we are creating jobs, building a robust, clean energy economy, and making good on our commitment to the environment. So now I think we get to demonstrate how this works. Oh, actually, before we do that, I should say, I've said a lot. I may have actually said it all. But I want to be joined before we flip the switch and take questions by Director Morris Hughes, who is responsible for many training programs in the district that are getting DC residents trained for jobs of the future, followed by Nicole Steele, who is representing Director Wells. Director Hughes?
Thank you, Mayor Bowser. So we know that solar is real in DC. Mr. Donnerson just shared that with us because at DOES and in partnership with DOEE and under the leadership of Mayor Bowser, we're not only training people, we're not only breaking through barriers, but we're building global ambassadors and citizens. And this program does just that. Nationwide, the growing solar industry is creating pathways out of poverty for tens of thousands of workers. But here in the District of Columbia, we are blazing new trails. And Mayor Bowser's FY20 budget includes $1.3 million for continuing the SolarWorks DC program, $12 million for the Solar for All program, which is designed to decrease energy costs for thousands of low-income DC families, and $25 million for solar energy investments in district government properties and community solar projects. And I'm proud to say at the DC Department of Employment Services, we are training district residents to do this very important work. But we couldn't do this work alone without Grid Alternatives Mid-Atlantic, which provides solar installations to income-qualified single-family homeowners and to private industry as well. The District Solar Installation Job Training Program, in addition to the Workforce Development Training Program at DOES, creates opportunities both for training and opportunities for communities. We're proud to continue this work with DOEE, and we want to thank everybody who has helped make this possible. Now I'd like to introduce Nicole Steele, our fearless partner and leader in this work. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I am Nicole Steele. I'm the Executive Director of Grid Alternatives Mid-Atlantic, and I want to make sure that I thank all the people, thank the mayor, thank Department of Energy and the Environment, Department of Employment Services, obviously Dawn for hosting tonight, or today I should say, in this beautiful sunny weather that's perfect for solar. But I could not do this without my Grid staff, so I want to give them a big round of applause. We have been so proud to be running SolarWorks DC for nearly 2 years. We've trained almost 120 trainees, if you cannot believe that. And I know we are celebrating the 100th install today, but I think it's also important, and I think others have also said that, so the mayor and director, Morris Hughes, have talked about the workers and our trainees and our clients. So I want to give our trainees a round of applause as well. In order to meet the goals of the Solar for All program, we absolutely must have qualified employees, and that's where SolarWorks DC really comes into play. If you look at the solar job census report, nearly 80% of Mid-Atlantic employers say it's somewhat or very difficult to hire qualified employees in the Mid-Atlantic in the solar industry. So why not take this as an opportunity to train individuals here in the district, and so we're so proud to be part of that. So I want to say that our solar workers are not our people and not numbers. So Stephen came up here and talked earlier a little bit about his experience, and I hope I'm not going to embarrass him and some of my other staff and trainees, but I want to talk a little bit about their stories. Right now, 242 people are currently employed in solar in the United States, if you can believe that. When discussing these numbers, though, it's easy to lose and forget that these are real people we're talking about. And so I want to talk about Stephen Donnerson and Vernon Davis, who are just behind us today. They were both trainees in the SolarWorks DC program, but are now employees at Grid Alternatives. Vernon was a maintenance worker and also a caregiver before he came to SolarWorks DC. But he was so interested in solar, and he was interested in this change, and he likes to make changes, and he said he always loves working with my hands, and he thought this was something that he can do. After he finished the training program, Vernon was offered a job with 2 other solar companies, but instead decided to come to Grid Alternatives to really help make a difference in our communities. He's continuing to gain more experience, pursuing different roles, and is really interested in going into project management. And that is something I really want to emphasize, in that not only are we training installers, we're training people into good careers and providing those pathways to continue to move up and really build a sustainable long-term career in this new clean energy industry. He really wants to make sure that he's making a positive difference in the community and help people like Dawn save money on their utility bill. Stephen already talked a little bit, but he has a really wonderful story, and his life was deeply impacted by the 2008 recession. He told us recently that he pretty much lost his whole way of life, and the end result was that he got divorced and he was homeless. But before we found solar, he was still reeling from that recession. We were talking to him, and he said to me, or he said to Nayeli, I should say, I pretty much lost my whole way of life, but I see grid as really finding my way out of that and just being so community oriented and wanting to make a brighter future for the other residents in the district. Every time I see Stephen, I see a smile on his face, and he's sending appreciations to everyone for this opportunity. So with that said, it's not only our trainees, but also our clients that are receiving solar. So on April 3rd, we installed a solar system on Lena Prince's house in Northwest DC, and now she's saving over 60% on her electric bill, which is getting up to about $450 a month. With her newfound savings, she's now able to pursue a passion to create a Cameroonian cookbook and host a community resource center. This project was so meaningful for her, she named a few of the dishes after her staff, after my staff, and I'm so excited to taste some of those, which include Jacqueline's favorite peppered soup, Dave's hardcore pepper soup, and Jeremy's pepper soup cream. So here at Grid, we want to make sure everyone is part of this clean energy industry, and I want to thank everyone for being here and being part of this program. And I think now you're going to take questions. All right, fantastic.
I love yours. Yes, Jason. Hey guys, we have cameras.
Everybody good back there?
No.
Camera down.
Sorry. Well, first.
I would be honored to talk to you. No doubt about it. So I didn't bring any. I do this in my wallet. Let me see if I get it.
Okay, we have the opportunity. We'll start with press questions, then any community questions. Questions. Yes, sir. Yeah. I'm well.
Northwest DC on 14th and Jordan was handcuffed. They seem to be chased by police. Situation. Apparently, the 9-year-old was leaving in the car. Nevertheless, he was taken down, put in handcuffs, and crying. It was a very intense situation. I want to know, is there a policy in place, or should there be a policy in place for detaining juveniles 10 years and less? I mean, should we really be seeing juveniles with handcuffs on?
In every case is different.
But in this case, it was
As you know, I can't comment on juvenile cases, and I would also suggest that you not promote pictures of juveniles in that situation.
oh, there's no pictures that are out.
Okay.
But my thing is, it's not necessarily just this specific case. I'm just saying generally speaking.
We can't speak in generalities. Each case is different.
But is it a good idea to see 9-year-olds with handcuffs?
Each case is different. Next, any other questions? Yes. That's an excellent question. If we can get the Department of Energy and the Environment to talk about solar for all in the schools, I know that we will embrace the opportunity. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Hi. Well, this is about the most beautiful block I think I've ever seen.
As you well know, some retired people will have to earn additional income
Yes, ma'am.
in their lives, and I was wondering how their retirement might be affected if they got into the training program on the board.
That's a great question. And I don't know the answer to that, of how different retirements are affected in the tax implications. Now we have a lot of target audiences for GRID, and I know the director works a lot with the Department on Aging on different opportunities that we have for training seniors to get back into employment. So I would suggest that anybody interested reach out to the Department of Employment Services, because this program or another may be what works. Okay. Oh, good. Thank you. Yes.
The people who lives in condos, like suppose I live in capital, Carburn, and how will we use solar system?
Okay, that's a good question for multi-unit buildings. Who wants to answer that? Yes.
Hi, I'm Anna Leasing with the Department of Energy and Environment. So we actually have community solar programs where we're able to offer solar services to people who live in multifamily housing. We're doing installations directly on multifamily housing buildings, but we're also for buildings that maybe don't have the roof that can support that. We can place solar off-site and have DC residents become subscribers to those community solar projects.
Roof, and my request is to mayor to use push like our condo association that they should allow us to use it. That they should change the rule, because they make a rule and you cannot,
Oh, do you have HO and HO? Okay, let's speak offline. I'll give you my card after this, and then we can talk about that specifically. Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.